Great. Well, hopefully that's all up on your screens, and pnawn da, diolch yn fawr iawn am y gwahoddiad I siarad efo chi a shario ein stori. Thank you very much for the welcome. I'm probably a little bit of a curveball for this afternoon in that I'm coming to digital tech and data handling slightly different way to some of the other speakers. So really the best way for me to do that is to share our story and what we're actually doing on farm. So I'm not sure I'd describe myself as a particularly smart farmer, but my topic is about smart farming, as it were. So if I, oh, there we go, got to click there. So a little bit about myself and how I've ended up being a dairy farmer, a bit of a convoluted route, had a fairly average GCSE and A-level results, but were good enough to get me an interview at Cardiff University. I then went on to do a master's course and came out with an earth sciences degree, worked in industry a little bit, and then wanted to come back and settled in Pembrokeshire. And obviously there's not a lot of call for geologists at the time. This is 20 years ago, so it was before the sort of online digital revolution, if you like, for from working from home and things like that. So I went back into farming in partnership with my parents, and that's where I've been ever since, and really used my earth science degree a lot more than you'd think. So I like this. I was trying to begin my talk with a little bit of an overview, if you like, of where farming is today, and to sort of dispel the sort of stereotypical flat cap old man standing against a gate looking across his herd of cows or whatever. And really the modern farmer today is somebody who uses a lot of technology. Agriculture is a really innovative industry. We're using everything from AI to robotics, and now we're using things like GPS, auto steer. So really the farmer, although uses all of these tools, is still key to bringing everything together. I think it was in Bryony's talk, I noticed, AI was about enhancing productivity and not replacing the people. So that is really a key message within agriculture. It's about increasing productivity. It's about enhancing the environment wherever we can. And from my point of view, animal health is key, because we are a dairy farm, and I need healthy, long-living animals to produce a healthy and nutritious food product, and then also enhance the environment as I'm doing all of this, which is something that the public are asking more and more of for. So the different elements. So we've got the animal, we've got the crop nutrition and the crop, genomics and things like that are bringing crops from other parts of the world and bringing efficiencies in that way. We've got the data handling then. If you're not measuring something, you can't then act upon changes and deviations. And then we've got modern, up-to-date weather forecasting. We've got weather station on the farm that we rely on, and then everything coming through my smartphone or my laptop. So every day I will have a significant amount more screen time than I ever thought I would have as a farmer, simply by checking in on all the data. So a little bit about the farm. It's an average family farm, about 350 acres. There are some moorland, some environmental schemes. We grow different crops, peas and barley, maize. We've got a lot of permanent pasture, multi-species lays, and all of our cows and cattle graze then from the middle of March, depending on weather conditions, until October. And then a little bit about the business. We are a dairy producer, so our milk goes into a farmers cooperative called First Milk, who turn that into cheese. And within that farm co-op, we do different things and part of different projects. So we're part of the soil nutrient group, and we're part of the Towie weather project, although we're not in the Towie catchment, we're in the Cleddau catchment, and it's sort of overreach now into Pembrokeshire, which is great to see. And we have all of our associated regen farming plans, completed our 23 plan. Now we're working towards our 24 plan, and I'll explain a bit about that next to come up on the next slide. So the whole farm is mapped digitally. and then each field will have had a soil sample, a deep core soil sample down to 1 meter taken, so that we can measure everything from the nutrients in the soil to the carbon levels in the soil, and then all that data, so I can go and click on a single field. And you have to forgive me, my presentation is just pages. I haven't got any fancy videos, but you could click on any one of those field parcels and it would bring up all the information you need about that field, and then you put in your cropping intentions, and it would then give you recommendations for nutrients that you'd need to add or not, as the case may be, and then any mitigation methods like the way that we may or may not cut hedges or plant trees, the multi-species lays, which are really great for enhancing our carbon. So then we measure all of this. It all goes back to the cooperative, and then they can use all that data then to use it to add value to our product. So we currently get a payment coming back to us as farmers then for these enhanced measures, and that obviously enhances our bottom line. It makes a difference sometimes between an activity being profitable or not. And it's kind of funny in a way that the way that farming is developing, it's not just about producing food anymore. It's about the whole environment and the whole thing coming together. So that's just a little bit about how the data is coming out of that system, and then that forms part of our planning for what we're going to do with these fields. So on the left there you can see has that field there hasn't been ploughed for about 10 years, so we've got a nice moss structure building up on the surface. That's adding carbon. You can see the little worm there. These are all the maize on the right there, and then this is hedgerow management, fencing off rivers. So all of this feeds back into that program, and that data then goes back into the company and is translated into sort of key action points, which then generate a scale for payment. So that's an actual real life way that data that we collect is actually returning to us as a payment. So moving on to the weather station and the app that we use. So that is actually out in the field behind the house where I'm sitting right now, collecting real live data, and that is coming back to me through an app, and I get very detailed information. So this is the weather. This was yesterday, so I'm getting the weather data up on a screen, and that's making it easier for me to make decisions about cropping, about what nutrients and when I'm going to apply different things. On the right there, you can see the example then for manure spreading, and that's quite topical at the moment with within agriculture, trying to improve water quality and protect the environment. So as you can see, there are different rules in farming, and the app clearly demonstrates the different times of the year that you can do certain things. At the moment, the soil moisture meter, which is at the bottom of, I must say, at the bottom of that pipe there, it goes into the soil and tells you what the moisture level is in the soil. And then that means we can work out whether the field is capable of taking any more moisture, so we can plan our manure applications around that. So that's really about the importance of protecting water quality. It's also really important from a nutrient efficiency point of view, because there's no point in us adding an expensive nutrient or stored nutrient on the farm if the ground is incapable of taking it up. And then that's also making the business a lot more efficient. It's more sustainable, and it's basically future-proofing us, especially with a changing climate. The heavy rainfall bursts that we get, they're just so unpredictable, and makes our lives very difficult. So any technology that we can have that helps to enhance decision making around this. This is great. So, and this is real-time data. I can just log into my phone anytime during the day, and I can get this and decide a plan for tomorrow or the few days in advance. So that was sort of like soil and fieldwork side of things. Then obviously the other part which is important to us is the animal health. So this is one of our robotic milkers. We have 3 of these on the farm. The cow walks in and the cow is ID'd by an electronic tag. There is all the data about what size the cow is, what milk she's supposed to produce, what she's supposed to be fed, and all the different parameters around animal health that this will measure. And I think the next slide shows you that on the left there you've got the sampling device. So once the cow has been milked and she leaves the robot and goes back either in the summer to the field or back in the winter goes back to her indoor accommodation, that will then take a sample of that milk and it'll send it to the lab that I have on farm, which is in the farm office. And this is going to then take a sample of that milk and it'll test it for one of 4 different things that we use to test for animal health outcomes and monitoring, I should say. So the first one is the progesterone that it's measuring in the milk, and that is for heat detection, and that's quite important because obviously for a cow to lactate, you need them to have a calf. So once that cycle has started after the first calving, you need to keep measuring for these things. You have an LDH, which is a lactate dehydrogenase marker, which is for mastitis, so that's very important for udder health. The BHB is about ketosis, and the urea. Those two there are more to do with dietary issues and measuring if the amount and the type of food that we're putting into those cows is efficient and keeping the cows healthy. So whatever your dietary choices are, it's really important to us that we produce food from a healthy and cared for animal, and this is all technology that's helping us to do that. And it's real-time data again, so every day through an app I will get this information, but it's really important obviously that then you act upon that information. If there's 1,000 different points and measures that these robots and this system sends back to me, and it's about navigating your way to making sure that you're getting the correct data points that you need to check daily and make sure that you are keeping on top of everything. And this is the kind of information that it's generating. I know it looks complicated, but it isn't really. The first few columns here on the left are things about the cow's ID, the number of days that she has been milking, and then you've got udder health is the first one, and that's coming from the LDH measure. So green is fine, yellow is an improving situation, and the red then is something that has changed but is a negative change. So that's something then that you want to go and check on, and this will be checked twice a day. I get it through the phone, or I can actually log into the computer remotely or actually visit the office in the shed, and then it just pinpoints issues before you're going to see them develop into something physical. So we very rarely see the vet come onto farm now to treat sick animals. It's more about preventative medicine. It's about actions that we can take on farm that is more about preventative medicine than to actually be treating cows, which in the grand scheme of things makes our whole process more efficient. It makes our herd healthier. It reduces our antibiotic use, which is another target we have within our cooperative, and it's all generally a very positive action. Again, it's back to the AI enhancing what I do rather than replacing me. So I've still got to go and actually action the things that are happening. So we'll take a quick look through these graphs. I know they won't mean much to somebody who's not familiar with them, but it's just literally showing you the type of data that we're going to get. So this is the progesterone. So you can see here, that's the calving event. So the cow was calved, and then after about a month of time has passed, it starts sampling for the progesterone to see when she's going to start in her heat cycle. And there you can see the progesterone rise. It gives me an alert via text message. I can then decide if I want to breed the cow or not. And if I do decide to breed her, like I did with this one, you have to put that information into the computer. It then records it, and then it keeps measuring the progesterone. And as you can see, as it rises up and flattens out, that is proving that the cow has been successfully bred, and that her progesterone line is leveling out. And that means that that cow has calved. She's being milked. She has been sampled, and she doesn't know about any of that because it's all happening remotely to her. I've had all that information come straight back to me. I've made a decision on it, and now she's back in calf, so that the whole cycle starts again, and she's not seen a vet, and she's only had one interaction with me, and that was at the time of breeding. And that is really what we would aim to do with all of the cows. It doesn't always look like that. Sometimes it'll be a bit more convoluted on the graph, but that's a really nice example. And we'll see the same then when we look at the sorry, that's the progesterone. Sorry, the previous, that's it. Yeah, so that's a different one. That's had that first breeding point, and then a second one, and then it's confirmed she's in calf. So again, there was no intervention there. There was no drug use. It was literally a natural heat, and it's just measured that remotely. So on to the LDH. The LDH is the marker that we use for mastitis, and this is really important to us because obviously udder health is key to having healthy cows, and obviously everything we do on the farm revolves around that. So that's everything from clean, neat pastures without any hazards to a clean and sterile building where they can live and be free from any bugs and things like that. So, and that means that we can get all of our product off the farm in the lorry and turned into some tasty cheese. So this cow here had this issue right by here. You can see the spike in the marker. It's up to us then to act on that. So this cow didn't receive an antibiotic treatment. We use other sort of more non-invasive treatments, things like udder mint, which is like a herbal remedy, if you like. It's like putting deep heat on a sore muscle, I suppose, and things like that. Because they're really early interventions, you can get away with then treating an animal, getting a much better outcome without using an antibiotic, and everybody gains from that. So the last one then is the BHB, sorry, which is the sort of the measure we use for nutrition. So a lot of work goes into nutrition for cows, and this is a way for us to just measure the outcome then, if you like. So we can measure the ketones in the milk, and that's showing us then any issues that the cows have. So this cow here, you can see the blue line is her milk production, and the orange line then is the ketones, and you can see that they spike. And if you overlay the progesterone markers onto that, you'll see that those are matching up with heats. So obviously this cow under heat is becoming a little more stressed. Props, she doesn't eat maybe as often, and it's just showing up ketones in her milk sample. So that's something then that we can monitor, we can manage if she needs an intervention or not. This cow, apart from this graph, was completely healthy and was not showing any clinical signs of anything untoward, and it did match up with the progesterone. So there was nothing to do, but it was a way of monitoring and to keep an eye on the situation. Some of them will show a clinical sign of ketosis, and that's something then we can act upon. So sticking with the animal health, there's a project I'm currently working on with Aberystwyth University and a group of vets. It's on bovine TB. It's quite a hot topic in agriculture. It's quite complicated in the way that it works. It's not only in cattle, it's in other vectors as well. So it's a really stressful thing. It's a really difficult thing to get a handle on. And we've been looking at the data. So this is the chart that the vet will produce. So you've got the animal ID. It's what breed it is, the date of birth, and then the group. So obviously we've got, these are milking cows, and then this is a skin measurement. So to TB test, we inject an avian and a bovine injection, and then we go back 4 days later and measure. It's like a Heath test for humans. So, and then depending on the changes in those lumps, they are defined as having a reactive or a non-reactive reaction, and that's how it's a very crude way of deciding whether the animal is infected or not not infectious, but infected anyway. So what we're doing is we're looking at these different results and how they change. So this here is a clear animal, and you can see that the numbers on the first day are the same as the fourth day. This one has a change on the avian lump, and then these ones down here are a bit more complicated. There's changes here on the avian again, and then the bottom one, oh, it doesn't quite show that the circle, that's the same again. So what I've done is we translate that onto into an Excel spreadsheet. So we're taking all that data, we're then scoring those lumps based on the changes and the differences between the 2 days, and then we come up, the final table that I come up with here is basically risk rating those cows. So they will all have passed the TB test, but they will all have come up with some sort of lump and issue, and it's a way for us to then to sort of predict which cows are going to be issues in the future, and to have sort of different management levels for these different cows. So it's all about just bringing all that information together and being able to make decisions based on that. So you can see here, these are what we would call then the risky cows, and they may not be bred again then, and hopefully in an attempt to try and eradicate the disease from the herd. So that was a bit of a snapshot of a whistle-stop tour, really, of some of the tech that we use on farm and some of the data that we get fed back to us and get to act on. I could go on all day to talk about the differences we see in other areas of the farm. For example, the tractors, for example. You know, we've gone from a very basic two-wheel drive tractor in the matter of about 50 years to today's tractor that I've got sitting out in the yard that has GPS, auto steer. I basically just drive it to the field, I tell it what it's going to do, and it gets on and does it, and I sit back for an hour and just watch YouTube or something. So it's a really exciting industry to be in. There's plenty of opportunity for anybody to get into the industry that have got any interest in any sort of computer AI technology, whether it's computer programming, engineers, to build all the software, to build the actual apparatus on farm. And it's really interesting to see then how it's actually being used on farm, generating the data for us as farmers then to make decisions around animal health and the environment. So thank you very much. Hopefully you found that interesting. If anybody wants to contact me, then there's my email address. I'm always happy to host visitors or anything on the farm if that's something you want to do. But thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me. Diolch yn fawr.
Gwych, diolch fawr I ti, Michael. Thank you so much, Michael. And yeah, I think we're listening to your presentation, they're most definitely a data-informed farmer. And I think the traditional, well, our viewpoint or our thought about farming is possibly old-fashioned, and this is the modern way of farming. And personally, I visited the farm to see the robotic milking parlour, and it is fascinating just to see how comfortable and happy the cows are in going through that process, and how quickly they adapt to that way of milking, really. And the data, the technology, computer science behind it, programming, like you mentioned, behind all that technology, just helps you with your farming. So yeah, diolch yn fawr I ti, Michael, am hwnna. Thank you so much.